All right, so we're going to talk about the Sopranos. If Tony got popped, what the current leadership would be right after him.
I think that specific topic is something that a lot of people have been talking about for years, way before this community's even started. Who takes over the family? How does the family look in a couple years? How does the family even look today? Does it just become a Lupertazzi puppet, or does it remain independent in its own way? So that's essentially the purposes of just the stream today, to talk about that and some other things that are associated with it. So let's say right after Tony's death, what happens exactly? So we have a chart here that is structured from the period of 2007. So this is immediately after Tony dies, to 2015. So it's like an 8-year period. What happens in those 8 years exactly? What I frankly predict. So as far as what happens specifically, we're gonna run with the idea that, okay, Tony does die here. He isn't indicted. He's taken out by a Lupertazzi gunman. This is probably on Butch's orders, whether that be because he's pushed by the other families to solve the issue, or whether it's just a means to, okay, they got Phil, we'll get Tony. You clipped our boss, we clipped your boss. Let's consider the war settled. That leaves a lot of people in the family that could vie for power, could vie for leadership. Some people think it will be Polly, some people think it'll be Patsy, some people think it'll just be a ruling panel. I don't think it's either or. I think the candidate that ends up becoming boss is somebody that a lot of people don't even remember, and that person is Joseph Beppy Sasso. Beppy Sasso was depicted in season 1. He's one of the three main male figures that are indicted for federal racketeering charges. Beppy at that time was the underboss of the family, and he was one of the multiple figures nabbed that day. The question is, though, why do I think he becomes the boss? I'll delve into that before I even move on to the chain of events of 2007, 2008. For me, it's just a matter of his status. Before he went away, he was the underboss of the family. Now, some people are thinking, okay, if he's the underboss of the family, wouldn't he be just Junior's underboss, right? He's Junior's pick. I don't specifically think so. My reason for that is how he's described by the media. He's described as the alien alleged underboss. Now, it doesn't make sense to me that Junior would pick somebody who was ailing to be his number two, whereas he could have picked anyone else. He could have picked Chucky Signori. He could have picked Beppy Scerbo. Could have picked a lot of other people who weren't having health problems at that time. But for some reason, Beppy's in that role. And it makes sense to me if he's in that role, he's retained from the prior administration. Whether that's as Ercole DeMeo's guy or he's one of Jackie's people, I don't know. I would go to say he's probably been DeMeo's underboss for a good period of time. It sucks we didn't see him or anyone similar mentioned in Many Saints. Shitty movie, but I digress.
Sorry, so you're saying that he was underboss before Junior became boss?
Yeah, that's my theory. Yeah, that he wasn't just a junior stooge. He was underboss before. Yeah. Most of the members we see throughout the series are just part of Tony's inner circle, and people, I think, get the impression that, okay, Tony's inner circle represents the entire family. Once that inner circle is gone, there is nobody left. But there's a lot of members from other crews that we don't see. The Barese crew is described as the largest, but we barely see any of them. We don't even see any of Raymond Curto's crew, or barely anyone in the Gervasi crew.
Yeah.
And we know those crews are definitely sizable, especially Curto's, because he was an all-time captain. So his crew had to have been, again, have some size and some influence too. But going back to Beppy, this now I finally delve into, okay, what happens after Tony dies. So around, I think it was season 5 around there, Larry Boy comes off. Larry Boy's released, but he's put on house arrest, and then he violates it. So I think around this time, Beppy also gets out, but he's on paper. So he doesn't interact with anyone in the family or make any contact or any waves yet. So after Tony dies in this hypothetical, that's when Beppy comes off supervised release. No federal supervision, no issues. I think once he hears news of Tony's murder, this is logically when, okay, the seat is open. There's no really any opposition. I was number 2. Let's say for this instance, okay, I was DeMeo's number 2. This guy helped found the family. He's basically the Sam de Cavalcanti or Giovanni Riggi of that world. So
Yeah.
me being his number 2 holds a lot of weight. So this is where he starts to jockey for the boss position. So the old timers in the family who are definitely still around at this point, he hits them up. Hey, I'm interested in being the boss. Tony just died. I promise that things will be quiet since there's a bunch of indictments coming. So I'll help run things. I'll help settle things down. So old timers, okay, cool. We want stability. So we'll back him. And then let's say he hits up the Curto and Barese crews. Albert, let's say Albert in this case, okay, I had my own problems with Tony. He was very volatile. He had Ralph whacked over a fucking horse. That's not something a good boss does. He's tough, sure. He can make tough decisions, but again, ultimately he was emotional. And that behavior ultimately made a lot of noise in its own way. So let's say for this instance, Albert backs him because, okay, he'll keep things quiet. Curto would be the same thing too. Also, I mentioned Ercole de Mayo. Let's say in this case, okay, Beppy, let me pass on a message to Ercole de Mayo. Let me obtain his support. In this case, if he is de Mayo's number 2, like just for the sake of the situation, de Mayo will be like, okay, you have my okay. I'll back you. Yeah. And then we can talk about like the Paulie and Patsy thing. So why wouldn't Patsy be boss in this situation? Like not right now anyway. Carlo Gervasi's flipping. He interacted with Carlo a lot, very frequently. So let's say, for instance, Parisi is afraid, okay, I interacted with this dude. I don't want the boss position because as soon as I get it, I might be indicted. So let me take myself out of the equation. Paulie, on the other hand, might want the position. So let's say, okay, you know what, I also want to be boss, but I'm also a little hesitant because I also interacted with Carlo. Is he going to flip on me? Let's say for this instance, he ignores that and says, okay, I also want to be boss. The money's good. I don't have to lift a finger. New York likes me, so they'll do that. Ultimately, let's say it doesn't go Paulie's way because he doesn't get the support of the captains. They like Paulie. They recognize him as an old-timer. He's very important, but they don't see him as boss material. Sasso, on the other hand, he rallies enough support, including Patsy, who probably would know Beppy to an extent for that position. Ultimately, that leaves Paulie in like an interesting spot, and this is where I'll finally go into like the chart structure. Paulie has to be given something, because again, he could start a war. So basically, I think in this situation, Beppy approaches him and says, hey, you'll be acting boss, I'll be the official boss, we'll run this family together. So Paulie, okay, we'll run it together. I don't have to I'll let you handle the hard work. I'll be the peacemaker or some shit. That's when it accepts. And that's how this chart from 2007 to 2015 is going to look. So Beppy's going to be the boss of the family, and Paulie's going to be the acting boss. Now, let's say Beppy appoints Patsy Parisi as his underboss, and to also like appease the old timers. And this is like not unusual because John Gotti did the same in the 80s. He made Joe Piney his underboss to calm the old timers down.
Yeah.
Beppy does the same thing basically in this situation. He goes to Giuseppe Scerbo, who was once Junior's right-hand man. He's like, hey, I need to ensure these old timers everything's gonna be fine. So he makes Beppy the consigliere, which I think makes sense in this situation. And now like there's like the matter of like the crews. Crews is interesting because Tony again like he prioritizes his own people. So in the very last episode, he merges the Aprile crew with the Soprano crew. He doesn't hit up any people from like the past who was in that crew to like run things. He goes to Paulie. So what's done differently here? So instead of Tony just appointing a random person, Beppy goes to veteran members of the family. He hits up David Salerno and Frank Cipollina. Salerno was in one episode. He's like playing cards with Tony and Pussy. He is a soldier in that crew. So he hits Salerno up and say, hey, Paulie's going to be acting boss. Patsy's already underboss. Someone needs to run this crew. I know you from the past because we're both old timers. I think you'd be good. Cipollina is the same thing. So both decide to come out of retirement, hypothetically, to help rebuild the family. And again, like historically, this isn't unusual either, because John Stanfa, the boss of Philadelphia in the 90s before Joey Molino took over, he hit a Vincent Pagano and Luigi Tripodi and some others to join the family again. Hey, I'll make you a captain. Help me rebuild this family. There's no one left. So like, okay, yeah, cool. So the Aprile crew is reactivated, and the Soprano crew has a new captain too. Larry Boy is broken down because again he's indicted, and Albert Barese did back Sasso, so he decides to okay. Larry Boy's not the captain anymore because he's already in prison. So Albert, I make you the official captain in the time being. Bobby's driver Anthony Maffei takes over Junior's crew, and Carlo Gervasi's crew is interesting because the only guy that can really take it over is Terrence Doria. Doria was described as Gervasi's point man on the Jersey waterfront. So he handled everything on the waterfront, and that's Carlo's biggest racket, and it's one of the biggest rackets in the family. So logically, it would be Doria because he was already Gervasi's right hand. So the structure for the capos, there's now 6 again. The Aprile crew does exist again, and ultimately it's all good. Oh, and for the Kurtoker, I forgot them as well. Kevin Sharkey would also be the captain. He was seen in the Pax Soprano episode. He was portrayed by Anthony Corrado, and he's the brother of Gambino mobsters. But that's it for like the current structure of this current chart, 2007 to 2015. Pete is here. I am sorry for talking so much. I'm sure you have questions of your own.
I thought that was pretty spot on, especially since they did run the docks. That was their major thing since season 2, I believe. And then even during season 5, that Tony with the whole Provolone and the Vespas and Carlo, and that was their main source of income after the Esplanade. So Sharky makes sense. Yeah, I like that.
And I think keeping Paulie as acting boss is kind of I think it's smart because I don't see New York liking the people around Tony, but like you said, like you kind of have to keep that contingent or that faction still happy in some way, you know.
Yeah, they'll give Paulie the same respect to an extent like they did Phil, because Phil is also a workhorse.
Right.
He's essentially portrayed as okay. This guy committed a lot of hits. The amount of hits this guy did, he could have filled up a cemetery. And Paulie's also seen as the same way, as in he's always willing to. He's down. He's down for the smoke, basically. Oh, Tony. Oh, you're having problems with this guy? Let me visit him. Let me pop the guy. So Paulie again portrays is someone like okay, he does what he's told. He's very loyal, well, to a fault. We're not gonna count him fucking sneaking to Johnny, fucking complaining and shit. But he is an old timer, and that also gives him like a good amount of respect too. I think he's sort of similar to Michael Paradiso in that respect. They're both they both committed a lot of hits. They've been around the family for a while, and like being again like closely associated with Tony and then his father. His father was very respected too. I think that gives Paulie like a lot of influence. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing for sure. Yeah.
What was his rank when Tony was boss? Was he underboss or was he just a captain?
He was
a captain. Yeah. He was a captain because I don't think Tony formally used the underboss position.
The only underboss at the end was basically Bobby Bacala at the end, and then he got whacked.
Oh yeah, right. Because they say that Mortadel's number 2 or number 3 or something, right?
Yeah, that's when after Chris was out of the picture, Bobby became the underboss.
Yeah. It's interesting too because they called him a number 3. So I guess in Tony's family, the consigliere role is seen as like number 2. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I
Paulie's
also
acting boss.
think, yes, I was just gonna say, I also think it could just be Chase not really kind of understanding, like, and again, like, I get that's not the point, but I think it's also just Chase not really understanding maybe too much of like the intricacies of like LCN, you know.
Yeah, because there's like some things that, like the whole concept of Tony going to therapy, the family would have they would have immediately whacked him. Everyone would have been for it. It's like Paulie would have been like, oh, he's going to a therapist? Be tough. Whack him. He's not. It's like the idea of like doing that is so taboo in the real world, but Paulie's like, that's fine. And
Yeah.
Carmine's like, in a way, there's no stigmata these days. You can go to a therapist. Julius Caesar was an epileptic.
Yeah,
They don't really give a fuck.
It's dumb, because even like at the end of season 1, when he's telling like Chris and Sil and Paulie, they kind of just shrug it off. I think Chris has like the most like WTF reaction to it, which is funny because he's not even a member by that point; he's just an associate. But meanwhile, like the actual members are just like, "Oh, okay."
Paulie did have a problem, like at the finale, like of season 1. He's like, he tells Silvio, he's like, with TC and a shrink, how does that sit with you? And then Silvio's like, you saw a psychiatrist. He's like, yeah, but I saw, a guy, and it was for something else.
I think that was like a prison psychiatrist or something.
Yeah, yeah. I guess if it's not in the outside world, who's gonna give a fuck, right?
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna mention this earlier too. Paulie's acting boss is also, I think, intentional for Beppy at this point, because Junior also played a similar role for Tony, where he's considered by all outward appearances the official boss of the family. But as I think it was the arresting FBI agent who was telling Junior like the reality of it in prison. So you're not making policy and you're not kept in the New York loop. I think for Paulie that makes a lot of sense. He'll collect envelopes by virtue of being the acting boss, but he's not dictating policy and he wouldn't be good at it anyway because he wasn't even aware of the amount of stops as it related to waste management and so on and so forth. He was just like, huh?
Yeah.
So he just strikes me as a person's like he wouldn't exactly know what to do. He just has his reputation, and for like a figurehead role, that acting boss position works perfectly. Because then you
He's
just
like a
have
lightning
Beppy,
rod.
exactly, whether or not he knows it. So it's Beppy and Patsy and also Beppy Scerbo that are really running things. They're dictating policy. They'll involve Paulie. He's gonna get envelopes. Like he's acting boss. He's boss in name only, but he'll get envelopes.
Yeah,
So
I
he's
kind
not
of see
it's-
him. Sorry,
Yeah.
I kind of see him as kind of like a Ralph Natal type. I guess maybe less of an idiot, which is funny, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but he's like effectively a stooge. But
Yeah.
for Paulie, it works out because at the end, he just wanted to relax. He just wanted to just collect, not do much. So
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think he cares.
yeah, he wouldn't really like, give a shit about like the inner workings of the organization. He likes the money. He just likes the money. Really, that's what motivates him.
I have a question. So the last time we see Beppy Scerbo, he's basically trying to help break out Junior with Uncle Pat. So was Uncle Pat still retired, or do you think he got put back into the fold?
I think they let Uncle Pat retire, but Beppy was for sure still involved at that point.
Yeah.
Because he also attended court with Junior, and I think what strikes me as very interesting about him is that he's not someone who goes for headlines. Period. Because
Right.
it's the scene where Junior gets hit in the head with a microphone and he falls down the steps. Immediately as they come out, Beppy stops in place and literally just like slinkers out of there. So before the cameras can even catch him, he's not there when Junior falls. He like immediately leaves.
Is Pat even made?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
kind of just thought he was just some like associate that they used the farm for.
No, that was
Yeah. I think
that
it was
was
like Tony
Tony.
B, Tony S, and Chris that were on his farm, but I think he was made. I just don't know which crew, although it'd probably be Johnny Boys.
I believe he was with Johnny Boy.
Yeah, that would have to be the case, but yeah, but Beppe makes sense. I think he's like a consigliere figure, like someone the old timers can respect. And
Yeah.
he's also not a moron either. I think it's in the very first episode when Tony's like trying to explain to Junior, hey, don't don't have Pussy Malanga get whacked in the restaurant. This'll fuck already over. Junior's not the one
Yeah.
that's like talking back to him. It's Beppe. Beppe's explaining why that location is perfect. It's the only place Pussy will feel safe. He's been eating there all his life. There's literally no other place to do it. Obviously, Tony ignores him, but again, it's like Beppe's the one justifying why that location. So he
Right.
probably planned that hit with Junior very closely. Going to like early late 2008. It's
Yeah.
very like eventful here. So I think what happens like early 2008, the first thing that happens major wise is Tony's funeral. For me, attendance is probably going to be limited to just Paulie, Patsy, David Salerno, some Lupertazzi emissaries and related associates. And I'll explain why like there's the hypothetical turnout these funerals is low later, but Sasso doesn't attend and Scerbo don't attend, and the other crews are being forbidden from attending. I'll explain why I think that'll be, but it's the same thing for Philip Bertazzi's funeral, except the whole admin shows up and some captains, as well as Hesh, who I think will still be associated with the family. I think he had a lot of problems with Tony in the end. He'd probably refer somebody more easier to work with. Um, Silvio Dante is another interesting thing. I don't think he wakes up from his coma. I think he just dies because his state was just not good. He had machines breathing for him. I don't see Silvio like waking up, so I think he dies as well. Like some months, like, let's say February. Funeral's probably a little bit larger as far as turnout wise. Um, but yeah, I don't think he survives. Carlo Gervasi, that's like the biggest thing because it makes or breaks this hypothetical. I think because there's a lot of people that Carlo can like single out, can rat on. For me, like I think with Carlo, it's both. I want to save my son, and I also want to stick it to Tony because Tony humiliated him in the fucking car. It's like
100%. I think he really got pissed by that, comment about like maybe you're a fag or whatever it is he says.
yeah, and it's like you're comparing me to. Why are you comparing me to this guy who who you and who you were fine with getting whacked? It's like I've been loyal since a long time. Carlo's an old timer, so that's like very disrespectful to say, oh,
Also,
maybe you should stop talking about that, and maybe you can earn as good as this person that I also didn't like. But I think Carlo singles out just Tony, Silvio, Chris, and Bobby Bacala. Because even if some of them
yeah,
are dead, he's still giving up the administration. And for the FBI, that's probably enough. You're giving us the big fish, you're giving us his number two and his number three, and a captain. He's probably going to finger Tony for most of the crimes. Okay. Chucky Signori and Mikey Palmise, he was responsible for that. Richie, he was responsible for that. Ralph, he was responsible for that. Vito, he wasn't responsible, but he knew about the hit. Matt Bevilacqua. The list goes on. There's a lot of crimes that Carlo would have known about because he's that high up. So just by being able to close a lot of these cases and finger Tony for some of the other things, that's probably enough for the government. So okay. So now we know Tony did do all this. That's fine. So they'll
yeah,
probably go hard after his family. They'll probably seize. It's basically what happened with like Johnny's wife.
yeah,
House is seized, bank accounts are frozen, and they're gonna start looking into like everything.
yeah. I'm just wondering like how like that's what I was gonna say with him like flipping. I wonder what type of deal he's gonna get, you know, rat wise, because most of the guys he wants to point the finger at are dead. You know, Tony mainly. It's kind of like imagine a world where John Gotti gets killed, like right as Sammy Gravano's about to flip. Like he can still give him stuff, but the big fish is gone. You know what I mean? So that might affect any deal he might make.
Yeah.
You don't see him flipping on Patsy, right? Like you don't see him giving up any of that stuff.
No, because I think it was just mainly Tony. He wanted to stick
Yeah.
it to Tony while at the same time ensuring that his son could like be out of harm's way.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
basically,
here,
what Sammy said he was gonna do, I'm gonna just stick it to John. In this case, Carlo actually does it. Like, I'm not gonna rat on you guys. My problem was just with this guy. I don't mind giving him up.
You see Carlo like the whole time. He's a stand-up guy. He's trying to go after Vito. He really pushed hard on going after Vito. Tony doesn't give him up. You kind of sense Carlo's a little pissed off. Paulie's pissed off. Carlo kept pressing the issue. He was loyal the whole time until that car ride. So I don't think he would rat on Patsy and those guys. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
So you think he's mainly like, okay, son aside, he's mainly flipping because he got offended, essentially.
Basically,
For some
yeah.
people, that's enough.
That's like Gravano's whole like defense
Basically, yeah.
of like why he flipped. Yeah.
Yeah. And for some people, that's enough. Like, that's enough. And, like, again, but this time, in versus Sammy, okay? I'm not going after my crew because I don't think Sammy Gravano also testified against, say, Louis Valerio or some of the guys with it. His crew was untouched. Sammy didn't rat on anyone in his
Yeah,
crew
but
specifically.
he still flipped on like other like non Gambino guys. That's where I mean I don't want to get into the whole Sammy Gravano
Oh yeah,
podcast
for
here,
sure.
but that's kind of like where his whole like I only ratted on John Gotti because John was talking shit kind of falls apart because he flipped on Vic Arena, he gave info about Genovese guys, etc., etc.
Exactly. I agree, and I think in this case, Gervasi also flipped on members outside of the family. That would also probably satisfy the government too. So definitely doesn't rat on his crew. His interest in records are automatically forfeited though. So they'll probably go to Doria who takes over like his interest. So bookmaking, narcotics or whatever. That's all Doria is now. Luckily, thankfully, Gervasi just makes it personal. Okay, just the main guys. One guy is already dead, and some other guys in some other families that I had some business dealings with, and anything else. But I'm not ratted on my crew because it's mainly personal with them. So what follows next, I think, family policy. It's basically just family policy moving forward. So Satriali's in the Bada Bing. Silvio owned the Bada Bing, and Satriali's was like a Soprano crew hangout. So I think those places remain under their control, but those locations just strictly become meeting places for that crew. So if the Barese crew wants to meet there or the Colonel crew wants to meet there, they want to visit, they can't. You have to stick to where you currently are because the government automatically knows, okay, this is where most of the family goes. So obviously, let's monitor the family. And since Carlo is flipping, the government is also probably going to increase pressure on other members of the family. So logically, it makes sense to, okay, if you're not in his crew, avoid that place. Don't go there. You'll be fine if you don't go there. Like maintain like a low key thing. So I think that's what happens, and it's also again, very like historically wise, it's also a thing. Joe Massino closed a lot of the social clubs when he first became boss. So those places that people would normally meet, they couldn't meet there anymore. They had to meet elsewhere because the government already knew about those places. Tony does get some credit for being somewhat smart, but at the same time, he also made a lot of dumb decisions. Okay, you won't discuss meetings at Satriali's, but you'll still have a captain discuss it with an administrative member. Dude, that's like the whole basis of RICO to an extent is guilty by association. This guy's your number two. Doesn't matter if you're not there. He's still talking to you about business that concerns you, that you would know about.
Yeah.
The Furio question. I think people are also a lot of interest in the Furio question. So I think here's my opinion on like what happens with like the Furio thing. So Furio, obviously he flees back to Naples because of the issue with Tony's wife. So that leaves the racket that they had up in the water. So I think what happens is Sasso, right? He would be aware of the car trafficking ring. Junior was a captain at the time. So if Junior had this racket, the boss would know about it. The underboss would know about it. They're gonna know about it. So Sasso knowing about it, he's like, okay, we need this racket back because it made us a lot of money and it gave us a pipeline in Naples. A pipeline that's like gone now because Tony's dead. So I think Sasso, Doria, and let's say Kevin Sharkey, they go to Naples to restart the ring. So the issue with Furio is settled. Hey, Tony's dead. I really don't give a shit whether or not you liked his wife. You could fuck his wife for all I care. I really don't care. Um you can come here if you want to, but if you just want to stay in Naples, that's also fine, but you're not going to be targeted. So I think the move that Annalisa did was like replicated. They negotiate a rate that isn't as ideal as what they wanted, but it restarts the reign. So they sent over a couple guys to Jersey. They sent Gaetano Giorizzo. He was one of the other guys that was with Furio when they were, at Matt and Sean's apartment. So he and a few others are sent to Jersey, and they're placed in the Curto and Gervasi crews. This basically makes Sharky and Doria the emissaries to that family. And this, in my opinion, brings it closer to the real life counterparts because the Cavalcantes, who
They
the
have a big
males are based
Sicilian
off of,
faction. Yeah.
exactly, they have their own like Sicilian faction. So this basically means they have a zip faction of their own.
And to be honest with you, that's the only kind of way I see Furio coming back is if they do have a zip faction. I don't really see him coming back or getting involved otherwise.
No. And the actor had an interesting theory that Furio is the one that eventually becomes boss of the Zucca family. So if
But the
he's already
Camarista
the
guys,
boss,
right?
yeah. So if he's already the boss of the Camorra family over there, he's not going to come back. He's already a
Yeah.
boss. Why would he?
But he can send the guy you just mentioned.
Exactly. So he sends over a couple guys, just like Annalisa did, smooths things over. And Furio is also secure in his position because some of his guys are now directly part of the family. In late 2008, 2009, it's just ball breaking, usual Soprano stuff, indictments, cases that go nowhere. I knew that was coming, you know. I think the DeMeos established relationships with some of the other families at this point too, because a lot of the issues that happened with Tony and the family came as a result of just Lupertazzi rackets. So they were very dependent on like the Lupertazzi family in a lot of ways. And that dependency led to conflict. It led to the Johnny situation. It led to the Phil situation where Johnny was like, either you deliver me, Tony Blundetto, on a fucking spit, or I will rain down hell on you like you've never fucking seen.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'd really love to have seen in the show is the relationship with the other four families. Because in real life the DeCalvacantes are mostly associated with the Gambinos and the Lucchese's. But I'd love to see like kind of like a Columbo stand-in or a Bonanno stand-in, kind of how that relationship works.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but it makes sense too because this means that the males aren't dependent on the Lupertazzi. So if in the event an interest of theirs is threatened by Lupertazzi aggression, then they don't really have to worry as much. Because we got these operations with these other families, so cool, we won't work with you anymore, but we can gladly work with these people. And it makes sense because a lot of the mobsters who are coming out of prison, they met other mobsters behind bars. And when they come out, they're automatically going to know each other. It's how George Borghese reactivated the rackets in Boston because he knew Matty Guglielmetti. In Providence, I mean. But he also met some Boston guys. So a lot of people just meet behind prison. That's how they link up. They'll meet. So that's how for me, that's how it would happen in like the situation. Like, oh, I know you already. Cool. I think 2009 ends with Junior finally dying. He wasn't in good shape by the time we see him, so I really think he peters out within 1 to 2 years. I don't see him making it to the 2010s personally. So I think the turnout for this is also the same as the other funerals. That's again mainly because there's a lot of heat on the family. So it makes sense for the family to minimize attendance at funerals so they aren't the target of FBI harassment. Because the FBI was targeting the funerals all the time. They picked up Silvio, they were gonna pick up Junior until they like ran off. And Bobby was after him. Don't leave me, Junior, don't leave me. So like they ran. So it makes sense that it's okay. Let's not have all of the family here at this time because the government is after us. So let's keep things low key. So I think justifies like the lack of attendance or like minimal attendance at the funerals. It's purely just a means to avoid FBI harassment, in my opinion.
Right. I agree with you.
But yeah, I think the Sasso administration ends around this time, 2015. 2013, Feech dies, I think. I think he's still behind bars, but I see Feech dying like around this time as well. So there's less law enforcement pressure monitoring. So I think the family like shows up in full. So it's a pact. It's like packed for like the first time in years. I think
And
the
plus, he was like a
Lupertazzi,
respected guy, Like he was
yeah,
a. There's no animosity like with Tony or whoever, right? Where it's kind of like, oh, we have to go see him. I think people actually liked Feech.
yeah,
Yeah.
people loved Feech. Like they loved him. He was the only guy that probably would have gotten some captain support to be boss. They really liked Feech. He's also like the last captain, the last of the old time captains, because Johnny Boy's dead, Junior's already dead. Hypothetically, Ray Curto died. His death represents the end of an era, basically. It's like with Chicky Shangalini. He was the last major Scarfo captain, besides like Sun too, but he's an old timer, so he gets his respect. I think he gets his flowers. So, but this definitely ends the Sasso era around like 2015. Around here, this is like 2015 to the present day, how the administration looks now. So Scerbo steps down as consigliere. He's already 88, hypothetically. He's already old. He wants to retire fully. So at this time, Beppy Sasso steps down too. Then this is finally, I think, where Patsy like becomes the boss of the family. Everything's calmed down. He's been under boss for a while. He was a candidate for a boss before. He's close with Tony's family. Everyone likes Patsy. I don't think anyone had issues with Patsy, so I think logically he ends up becoming like the boss of the family. For underboss, I think it would be Tony Maffei, because Tony Maffei was in Junior's crew. I think since Beppy Scerbo was also a member of Junior's crew, Patsy would want to keep someone in his crew in the administration, like continuity. So I think Tony Maffei makes sense as underboss to me. Sasso, I think he like stays on the administration, but as consigliere. So he takes a Joe Legambi type of role. He won't get involved in rackets, but if he needs to mediate disputes or if people need to talk to him about anything, that basically works out. And this is where the crews end up being a little more fleshed out too. Each crew will have an acting captain now, so you'll start seeing some of the more familiar names like way back then in the show. Larry Barese comes out too, I think, finally. So he's off supervised released. He's done his time. So I think he becomes a captain again at this time. Albert becomes acting captain again, which allows Larry to just take over no issues. So I'll just like read off the chart what the administration I think looks like specifically.
Yeah.
So Patsy's the boss. Paulie, I think, is still acting boss at this time, probably to this day. He's an elder statesman. He goes back to the era of Johnny Boy Soprano. He's a figurehead. Well respected, even if he's not the one dictating policy. Maffei is under boss, Beppy is consigliere, for sure. And the captains, David Salerno remains a captain. He has Benny Fazio as his acting captain, which I think makes sense for Benny. He's been loyal to a fault. He has some rackets. He's not exactly headstrong or brash. I think by that time he'd be in his 40s, so he'd be a lot more calmer now either way. George Esposito, he was Junior's bodyguard in the first episode. I think he gets his flowers. He gets a captain's role. He has Joey Marino as his acting captain. Joey Marino was the guy who was with Mikey when they threw Rusty Irish into the water.
Yeah.
Kevin Sharkey, still a captain, I think. Gaetano Giarrizzo, I mentioned him earlier. I think he's Kevin's acting captain. So a lot of the Zips are in the Kurtzo crew, which comprises a Zip faction, this hypothetical. Larry Boy's captain again. I think he's the oldest. I think he's now the oldest captain in the family. Goes back probably to the DeMeo era. So he gets a lot of respect too, just by virtue of his age. Albert Barese is acting captain. Terry Doria is still a captain at this time, in my honest opinion. Walden Belfiore, I think he's also acting captain now. I know a lot of people will say Walden. Really? Walden, really? Walden clipped Phil Leotardo.
Yeah.
Walden's automatically a legend because he clipped the boss, and he clipped Phil of all people. That automatically makes him a big, big person.
He's like a brutal and delicato type.
Yeah, I was thinking of him.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, that's a great comparison. Yeah, Bruno gets a lot of respect because he helped clip Galante.
Yep.
Belfiore and Benny Fazio were on that Phil Leotardo hit.
Yeah.
So I think they're automatically legends in like that world specifically. The Prio Crew is like the last of the 6. I think Frank Cipollina remains a captain. He has Joseph Samarco as his acting captain. I think they're only seen in one episode, where they're greeting Richie. Frank Cipollina, like some people don't know, he's like the older guy who was telling Richie about his grandkids. Then Paulie talks some shit. Then Frank like talks shit back. Paulie
Yeah,
doesn't do anything though, because obviously Frank's made. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna let you talk about my fucking grandkids. You also can't hit me.
Are you talking about the big guy who was like he's like a DeCavalcante associate in real life?
Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about. Yeah, he's also yeah. I was gonna mention that the actor that played Cipollina is actually a DeCavalcante associate.
yeah,
It's
he's the
very
one.
interesting.
He's the one who handed Richie the envelope, and Paulie's like, "It's all ones."
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, so Marco was also like handing Richie envelopes too. So they were definitely earners. So it makes sense for me that they take over. But yeah, that's as far as like the chart goes, and really it's just like debts as far as like what I have here. It's like 2016, Ercole DeMeo dies. Family attends in its entirety. There's some representatives. 2023, Beppy Scerbo dies of old age. Again, family attendance. So I think like from 2015 to 2026 right now, I think like the Mayo family, it's like very uneventful. But in the mob world, that's a good thing. No headlines, everything's being run smoothly. But yeah, the days of Tony Soprano literally whacking somebody because, oh my god, you killed a horse. Or, oh my god, Richie was shot by my sister. Or, oh my god, I'm threatened by Feech. I'm threatened by Feech. Let me get rid of him. Or doing a bunch of other emotionally driven shit. That's long gone.